Hi there, this is Mark Koesterer with the Players NIL. I'm about to begin recording my webinar entitled Unlocking Influence. It's a journey through the history of athletes as influencers, the opportunities that name, image, and likeness has created, and certainly the opportunities that it created for lifetime success. And to complete your journey as an athlete, you'll need to learn how to maximize your brand, tell a story, connect with others, and think long-term. So welcome to the webinar. Once again, I'm Mark Koesterer with the Players NIL. Thank you for participating. Let's go. So we begin with my company called the Players NIL. And as we discussed in the introduction, we are a name, image, and likeness provider, and we supply education for athletes and influencers, brands, coaches, administrators, anyone associated with athletes and athlete marketing. My background is that of a high school athlete, a college athlete. I was a parent of college athletes, parents of professional athlete, professional athletic coach, and my experience was really brought together as the president and CEO of Sports Studio in Los Angeles. It was there that I learned about sports marketing. I learned about athletes and brands. I learned about agents, agencies. I learned about production companies. I learned about influencer marketing, group licensing, influencer licensing. And so I brought all of this knowledge together to create this company called the Players NIL. Here's what I hope you learned today. What is NIL? We've seen it talked about in the news. You've read about the athletes that are benefiting from it. You've heard some of the detractors talk negatively about it. We're going to dive into that. What does it mean to build a brand? What is a brand? Additional brand building ideas, so ways to do that, things and tips and tricks of the industry. How is it being executed today? How are people doing it? What does it look like? Who is successful? Why are they successful? Always important, what are the practical next steps? It's easy to read a book. Without any guidance, the book goes away very quickly. But with guidance and actionable first step items, you can take this and grow from it. And how using this platform creates life skills and the opportunities for a lifetime. We like to say that name, image, and likeness is not a 4-year thing, it's a 40-year thing. We aim to show you that today. Our mission statement, this is the company mission statement, which fits nicely into what we're talking about today. Number one, how do you use athletics to better your life? And those of you that are using athletics to create opportunities, whether they be social, professional, educational, in college, career-wise, you're well on your way to doing that. But at some point, your career is going to end, and athletics will no longer be the dominant force in your brand. So then we graduate to the next phase, which is, how do you use athletics to better the lives of the people around you? And this is very important because we teach how to use athletics to create community and networking opportunities. And I think it's a great way to give back and pay forward for those of us that have benefited from all the great things that can happen with athletics. And look, we talk about this. You can use art and music and math and science and travel, fashion. There's lots of ways to have a passion that drives you to success. We're athletic focused, we're athletic centric, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The goal, very simple, to empower young athletes by inspiring them to see how a personal brand can shape their future. Never before have athletes been celebrated like they are today. We just recently completed the summer of 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, France. Never before have we seen so many athletes celebrated on social media. So many athletes using social media to tell their story and connect with their followers. Things like endorsements, leadership roles, community influence. We want to encourage athletes to take control of their narrative and to turn their talents into a brand that makes a lasting impact. We hope we can show you how to do that today. What does success look like to you? This is different for everyone, and everyone may have a different level of interest in all of these bullet points. You may have bullet points that go beyond this. Is it team success? Is it individual success? Could be a combination of both of those. Are you purely out to make money? That's fine too. Many people are. Are you trying to make friends? Are you trying to build a career network? So future opportunities for internships and work opportunities. Are you trying to give back? Are you trying to build a brand around giving back and community service? But it's important to identify, what does success look like to you? And I always tell young people today, let's not talk about today, tomorrow, and next month. Let's not even talk about this year. Let's talk about 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. What does success look like to you? And then let's work backwards. Let's think about the steps that are necessary, the milestones that you need to achieve in order to get to that point. If you just say, I want to be rich and successful at age 50, that's not enough. What does rich and successful look like? Does it include a family? Does it include a career? Does it include employing people? Does it include mentoring and helping people? Does it include disciples in your business or perhaps in your family that have grown and benefited from your leadership? What does it look like? And then let's go backwards and look at the necessary steps. The 5 pillars of education that the Players NIL teaches, and we believe that these are really life skills. These are the things that are necessary in order to complete this task of building a personal brand and executing a futuristic life skill accomplishment. The first one is digital marketing. Never before has it been easier to build a brand. Never before has it been easier to destroy a brand. So we want to talk about the pitfalls and the opportunities that that creates. Influencer marketing. Influencers are part of the marketing world today. Like it or not, the Kardashian family has changed the world. Athletes as influencers have grown. Think about LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal. Think about Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Think about all of these great athletes and how many times you see them on television endorsing products, trying to share a message, trying to share with you what they're doing. There's always a legal side to this. What do contracts look like? What are the basics? What is intellectual property? What are lifetime rights? What are net payment terms? What are the exit clauses? How do you get out of a deal that isn't working out? What does a bad deal look like? What does a deal look like that is in favor of the athlete? Very important to understand this. For college athletes, what does compliance look like? And compliance is changing. So it's an ever evolving answer to that question. Pillar number 4 is community service and philanthropy. And it's here where we teach athletes and influencers how to use community service and philanthropy, number 1, to give back, number 2, to tell a story and grow a brand, and number 3, because it's the right thing to do, and to build this balance of identifying yourself as more than an athlete. So many times we see athletes whose career ends perhaps prematurely due to injury, perhaps they just timed out from a skills standpoint. And if their whole life has been based on their view of themselves as an athlete and they have nothing to fall back on, we see a crash. Mental health issues, terrible mental health issues for athletes whose careers have ended. So community service and philanthropy is a great way to build a foundation and build value away from athletics. It's a long-term success tool. Finally, financial literacy is pillar number 5. I believe every young person should have the basic financial skills that we teach here. Not just what is a checking account and a savings account, but what is interest? What is compounding interest? What are investment vehicles? What are the things you need to look out for in terms of legal and tax issues? Most NIL deals are 1099, which means you're not having taxes withheld. You're going to get a statement at the end of the year that you're going to owe the government money. Taxes are an important part of this. The history of name, image, and likeness. So we know name, image, and likeness as athlete sponsorship and marketing, and it's been going on for 100 years, since the beginning of professional sports, way back to Babe Ruth, who sponsored products and was an influencer in newspaper ads and radio ads. There was no television at that time, obviously no internet and no web. But this has been going on for professional athletes in our lifetime. Go back to Joe DiMaggio, go back to Joe Namath, go back to the great Pittsburgh Steelers, Mean Joe Green. Of course, the modern athletes, as I mentioned, Shaquille O'Neal, Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, the greatest influencer of all. So we've always had this relationship with professional athletes as influencers. We always had a line of demarcation, and it separated professional athletes from amateur athletes until 1992, when professional basketball players started breaking down that barrier by being allowed to participate in the Olympics. Prior to that, we put our amateur athletes on the court to compete with the world teams, many of whom were professional or certainly paid athletes by their governments and institutions. So we began to erode the amateur status in what we called the Olympic sports movement. We started to pay athletes, sponsor athletes, created that. In the late 2010s, early 2010s, there was a lawsuit brought by a basketball player. Ed O'Banion was a basketball player at UCLA. And one day he looked at a video game, NCAA basketball video game, and thought to himself, how are they able to use my name, O'Banion, my likeness, which is my video image, and my image, which is my picture, to promote a video game without compensation? He filed a lawsuit, lawyers got involved, court cases got involved, and slowly but surely court cases started being heard, which eroded the amateur status of athletes in the NCAA. The NCAA refused to administer any changes, and so the lawsuits kept coming, the dismissals of lawsuits, the advantage that athletes started to gain grew, and in July 1st, 2021, the NCAA finally removed all restrictions on what was termed amateur athletes in college using their name, image, and likeness to prosper and make money. And so modern NIL at the college level, previously known as the amateur level, truly began on July 1st, 2021. In the first 3+ years of NIL, a couple of golden rules have come to bear. Number one, 80% of NIL deals are based on social media. 80% influencer marketing. 60% are with local businesses. We understand that the local athlete connection with the local business is very powerful, and that's one of the things that we teach. There are other ways to benefit from NIL: autographs, appearances, social media posts for charitable organizations. These types of events make up the 20% that aren't included with social media. But remember, social media and local businesses are the driving forces. What is an influencer? It's a question that many people say, oh, I know what an influencer is. And then I ask them, describe it. Give me the definition. And they hem and they haw, they're not really sure. An influencer, quite simply, is someone that influences others in how they think. It could be what products to buy. It could be what directions to take when trying to find the local high school to a game, when you stop and ask someone. There are a number of ways that people influence others. My biggest example is you pull into town, you get gas at the local gas station, you ask someone that's pumping gas next to you, where's the best place for dinner tonight? What's the best restaurant in town? That person on the other side of the pump recommends a restaurant on Main Street at the corner by the light. Boom, an influential conversation occurred. The problem with that is that's an influence of one person telling one person where to go for dinner. What social media does is that it grows that audience and expands that audience and gives you the opportunity to influence multiple people at the same time. An influencer is simply someone that influences other people in how they can think. What is an influencer brand? It involves your personal brand. It involves storytelling. It involves social media. It involves being authentic and relatable, okay? What is brand? Just like influencer, I ask people what brand means, and people come up with different answers. Many times, it's not really what we simplify it down to. Brand is simply what other people think of you. It's how you're perceived by others, your teammates, your family, your community, your coaches, the fans, okay? It's really simple. What do other people think of you? Storytelling, when we connect influencers and personal brand and social media, we talk about storytelling. What is storytelling? Storytelling is something that engages the audience, that makes you relatable, that makes you authentically liked or followed, or people have an interest in you. We all know and have seen social media posts where influencers seem inauthentic. They don't really drink Coca-Cola, they drink Pepsi. They don't really eat Lay's potato chips, they like Ruffles. And so that comes out, and that becomes a big barrier to growing your audience. So authenticity of social media posts and storytelling are really important. One of the things we learned in Hollywood in my 15 years as a CEO at Sports Studio was how to have a beginning, a middle, and the end. In other words, one social post does not create an influencer brand. You need to have a story talking about your journey, talking about what's going on in your life, talking about the things you experienced, the things you learned, sharing with others those experiences that make you relatable. Perhaps someone else got cut from their junior varsity team. Perhaps someone else had an injury that they had to overcome. Perhaps someone else had to transfer from one school to another and learn how to deal with new teammates, new coaches. Perhaps someone else did not have a great experience with a coach. Those are all relatable stories that make sense and certainly give you an opportunity to connect with an audience and to grow your audience. There's 3 circles in brand building. These 3 circles are friends and family, community, and professional. Let's start with the friends and family circle. Quite simply, it's usually the first group of followers you have on social media. It's your cousins, it's your neighbors, it's your sister, your brother, it's your aunt and uncles. It's perhaps somebody that you know in your community that you have a relationship with. And they follow you because they like you, they know you, they got interested in you. You had a Thanksgiving dinner, you shared pictures of grandma's turkey. Uncle Johnny's golf swing is hysterical in the backyard and people laughed at it. Perhaps it's your restaurant experience with sushi or pizza or whatever it is that you like to eat. The friends and family circle is your first circle and should always be part of the 3 circles of brand building. I aim to make it the smallest part. I want to grow the other 2. The second circle is community. Community are those people that know who you are, but you don't know who they are. So perhaps it's members of the community that you haven't met. They read about you, they saw you interviewed, they saw an article written about you in the newspaper. Perhaps they went to a game and followed you, saw how you played, related to your ability, to your skill, related to your sport. Someone told them about you. The community circle is what we aim to grow using social media and becoming an influencer. It's also that connector to remember 60% of NIL deals are based on local businesses. Community connects with that. Your professional circle is the third and final circle in this journey, and these are your long-term relationships. These are your career relationships, internships, job opportunities, networking, hiring, raising money, entrepreneurial things. Usually professional growth is occurred on business networking platforms such as LinkedIn, which I highly recommend that everyone build a LinkedIn profile. So those are the 3 circles of brand building: friends and family, community, and professional. How do brands view influencers, and why would a brand be interested in influencers? We talked about the Kardashians. We talked about how the growth of influencer marketing has taken over. It's quite simple. Remember the 3 circles of brand building. That brand that you may create an influencer agreement with, what do they want to do? They want to sell products. They want to make money. That's what they're in business for. Why are they interested in you? Yes, because your friends and family circle. Perhaps there's a group of individuals there that they want to sell products to. But more importantly, and probably more logically, is your community circle. They want to know who your audience is and how you're hyper-focused in a market. So for instance, a local business, a pizza shop, a sandwich shop, a car wash, a lawn maintenance company. These are people that are trying to reach others in their community. They don't care about 400 miles away. They don't care about 3 states away. They care about the hyper-focused community of which you live and they work. And so they're looking for influencers with community connections. They're looking for local authority. They want someone that can speak firsthand about their experience at the pizza shop, their experience with the lawn maintenance company, the car wash, the insurance company, the local business, because now you have built an audience of your community and your circle of brand building. You become an influencer because of your status as an athlete, and you bring local authority to that. Engagement rate. We talk about engagement rate. Another phrase that gets thrown around, but very few people really know what it is. Engagement rate is a combination of likes, shares, and comments on your posts. We have many athletes with millions of followers. When they post, their engagement rate on a percentage basis is very low because they haven't really connected with those people. They're just following them because they're fans. A local business with a local athlete has a higher engagement rate, 3 to 5 times greater than a traditional influencer. And so engagement becomes very important. And of course, lastly is the authenticity piece, which we talked about. Are you relatable? Are you someone that people look up to? Are you someone that people respect? And I think that those are the key pillars of why brands are looking for influencers. Athletes as influencers. We just use the phrase sports fan. What is FAN? What is fan short for? Fanatic. And many people, we understand, are crazy about their teams, their high school teams, their college teams, their professional teams. Sports fandom is at an all-time high. You can't turn television on any time of the day that there isn't some sports-related content on. Talk shows, game shows, rebroadcasts, live broadcasts. We're constantly bombarded with athletic competitions in all sports, especially with the advent of apps and digital distribution. So why not take advantage of an athlete as an influencer role, monetizing and taking advantage of your celebrity in the community, someone that people look up to, your sports fandom, your professional circle, your community circle, and your family circle. Connecting all of those, athletes as influencers have a 3 to 5 times greater engagement rate, which is what brands are looking for because they want to find a hyper-focused community to advertise to. The power of force multiplying. This is a concept that I put together that I think is very important. And we use a very simple analogy. You can tell by the graphic here, we have an athlete dropping a rock into a body of water. The rock goes through the surface and slowly floats to the bottom, hitting the bottom of the puddle, the lake, the pond, whatever it may be. Imagine that your social media post is that rock. When it gets released, it goes through the surface of water and goes to the bottom of the water, never to be seen again, unless you learn how to force multiply your social media message. You learn how to create an engagement hook. You learn how to create tools that develop and engage followers to comment, post, and share. And we do that. We use this ripple effect graphic to show the power of how one post can spread across the surface of the water, AKA your community, and create engagement and create connections to help grow your audience, to help increase your value as an influencer. So the power of force multiplying is very simply taking a single post and multiplying the number of people that see it. We do that through hashtags and mentions. The hashtag is quite simply a way to engage with people around a hyper-focused event. Perhaps it's hashtag Thanksgiving. Perhaps it's hashtag your hometown's 5K. Perhaps it's hashtag happy, hashtag mood, hashtag prepared. Those hashtags get processed and the algorithms in social media feed your post to the other people that are following those hashtags in social media. Again, creating a ripple effect or a force multiplying effect. The mentions are ways to create a connection to a brand or other social media influencers at UncleJohnny.com, at Aunt Sally, at Cousin Betty, at XYZ brand, at XYZ local business, pizza shop, again, sandwich shop. That now you've experienced this force multiplying effect by taking your message and simply rippling it through other people's social media handles and getting them to spread it to their audience, thereby growing your audience. The power of force multiplying is a key factor in social media influencer branding. Of course, we always talk about athletes, young athletes in high school and college, trying to create a balance between their academic requirements their athletic requirements, and this new world of name, image, and likeness. We at the Players NIL believe there is a balance. We believe that if you follow our 5 pillars course, if you go to the Players NIL and look at what we do, there are long-term benefits from this. These are life skills. They will help you be a better teammate. They will help you be a better hyper-focused athlete. They will help you be a better student. They will help you be a better candidate for the job that you apply for. Academics are incredibly important. Using NIL as a launching pad for lifetime success and creating life skills learning experience is really important. And we think it differentiates what we do from athletes who are simply just getting paid. The legal side of influence agreements. Unfortunately, we have many lawyers out there that protect both athletes and brands. Sometimes those agreements need to be reviewed. Unfortunately, most athletes and their families are not prepared to understand what they're signing up for. We've heard of the horror stories of athletes who are signing agreements that are giving away their lifetime rights. They're signing away their right to their intellectual property. They're doing it for an amount of money that is nominal, perhaps not even going to be paid until 12 months from now. They don't understand what the exit clauses are if there's an influence agreement that doesn't work out. Again, the compliance part of it. What are the school rules? There's 2 basic rules that apply to most high school associations across the country and almost every college association. Number 1, don't use your uniform in a paid social media post. You cannot wear your uniform in a paid social media post. Number 2, you cannot shoot paid social content on school grounds without permission. Typically, that means you need to rent the space. In other words, you cannot use the marks or the intended brand marks of your institution to create social media followings for pay. Very important 2 rules. We also want to talk about compliance with regard to disclosure. We want to talk about things around the FTC, okay? If you're using social media for pay, if you're promoting a product, it's very likely that you need to disclose that you're doing this, that you are a paid sponsor, that you are being paid to deliver this content. Those are FTC, those are federal regulations that you need to make sure you're aware of. Lastly, you need to understand the brands that you're allowed to work with. Usually the vice businesses are prohibited in NIL deals, tobacco, cigarettes, alcohol, things like that. So make sure you understand what the local rules are, what your school rules are. Make sure you have a professional that reviews contracts. Many athletes today are using agents to handle all of this and represent them. If you have an agent, make sure that you understand what he or she is giving you before you sign it. Again, the legal side of influence agreements, very important. Financial literacy. Hopefully, if we're successful with all of this, there's going to be a few pennies in your bank account and that you're going to need to manage. We want to make sure that you understand the basic concepts of the power of money, the basic pitfalls of not paying your taxes, the pitfalls of engagement and timing of cash flow, okay, building a business, creating a profit and loss statement, investing, hiring others in your business. What does that look like? And so financial literacy becomes very important. Basic skills. What is a checking account? What is a savings account? What is an interest-bearing account? What is an investment account? What is compounding interest? What does a mortgage rate look like? What's the difference in a monthly payment on a $500 credit card balance between 3% and 13%? You need to understand what the principal and the interest payment part of your monthly payment is. Incredibly important. Pillar number 5 in the Players NIL, financial literacy. Community service and philanthropy. Again, this is a personal mission of mine. I believe it's a great way to give back. It's a great way to pay forward. It's a great way to build your brand and grow your audience in that community circle, to work at the 5K turkey trot at Thanksgiving, to run a camp for young people, to work at the food bank or the book bank, to give back to children or charities of people with disabilities. Perhaps there's a cause that you're been affected by, cancer, diabetes, some health-related cause, all right? These are all great ways to give back and to grow your brand and to do the right thing. We talk about the Damar Hamlin story from the Buffalo Bills. When he had a medical event on the field, no one knew who he was. As the story came out, we learned of his charitable work, and what was a $2,500 goal to raise money to purchase toys for kids at Christmas grew to $10 million because the Bills Mafia and other fans in the Pittsburgh area got behind his mission, saw him for who he was, his authenticity, and got really excited about supporting his charity. Community service and philanthropy, pillar number 4. 20 content ideas for young athletes. You can freeze this right now and review this. These are just tips and tricks about things that young athletes can post about. Storytelling. We talked about authenticity. We talked about connection. We talked about building a bridge to your audience and making you relatable. Book and film recommendations, game highlights, diet and nutrition tips if you're into fitness and working out, drills and exercises that are specific to your sport. You as a high school athlete even, there are young kids that are watching you, the junior high team or younger, kids that come to the game with their parents. Perhaps they have an older sibling that's watching the game and they come and play on the sidelines during the game. One of my best memories of high school football was when I was young, playing tackle football with my friends behind the stands. Absolutely no idea what was going on with the game, but we could hear the names of the players being announced on the speakers and broadcast on the scoreboard, and those names became embedded in my brain and people that I looked up to. Upcoming events, sportsmanship moments. These are lots of great ideas for content ideas. The next thing are social hooks for social engagement. These are things and ways to get people to look at your content. The beginning of a social post is critical. It's a hook to get somebody to follow you, to get someone to listen to your message. All right. And there's a number of ways you can do that. 5 quick tips to improve your productivity instantly. All of a sudden, someone says, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that's all about. Which do you prefer, coffee or tea? Vote below. Create a poll. It's a great way to get people engaged with you. Remember, engagement rate is likes, shares, or reposts. And people may like some of these hooks and comment on them, or like some of these hooks and repost them. So great ways to connect with an audience and grow that audience. One of my favorite TED Talk speakers is Simon Sinek. And we have a couple of slides here with some great words of advice and wisdom. And I want people to think about this. As an athlete, as an influencer, as a local celebrity, you have a huge opportunity. You've done all of the work to prepare for being on the field, but that's going to end someday. And so how do we prepare you for life? This is a great quote. The greatest leaders are not those who do the greatest things, AKA it doesn't always have to be the best player on the field. The greatest leaders are those who inspire others to do great things. Remember what we talked about, using social media for change and for good, creating a following, being a social influencer, being a connector of audiences. Great quote, really should take it to heart. The next one is for your professional career. Great companies don't hire skilled people and motivate them. They hire already motivated people and inspire them. Name, image, and likeness, NIL, is a platform for you to show your dedication, your discipline, your focus, the things that you care about, your ability to be a team member and to grow an audience and be a leader. It's going to be a great resume builder for when you go to look for a career when you graduate or finish your college education. And finally, to those social media influencers out there and those athletes as celebrities, please, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. Storytelling, authenticity, audience connection, community connection. Great quotes from Simon Sinek. Thank you very much. Okay, practical next steps. Start telling your story. You need to begin with our hooks, with our tips and tricks, with the authenticity model, with the storytelling model, telling your story and starting to build that force multiplying effect and that ripple effect. Use force multiplying to grow it. Hashtags and mentions. Hashtags are for mood, attitude, and connections of thoughts. Mentions are for individual connections with people and brands. Explore local business opportunities. Get on the social media platform of your choice. Follow your local pizza shop if they have a social platform. Follow the local business if they have a social platform. Start to interact with them. Begin to build a relationship. Perhaps go in and introduce yourself to the manager or the owner. Think big picture and long term. This is not an overnight thing. It is a long-term process. Number one, to build your brand. Number two, to monetize it. And number three, to build these life skills that are going to pay dividends for the next 40 years. Think about where you want to be at the end of your journey. Work your way backwards. We talked about what are those milestones. Create your future. This is a great graphic. An athlete CEO. You are in charge of your brand. You're the chief executive officer of your individual brand. What is it that you're interested in? Is it investments, business? What is the foundation that you're connected with? What is the sport? What is it real estate? Is it the brand? Is it social media through YouTube and podcasts? Think about leveraging who you are and creating a future that's unimaginable without taking advantage of this opportunity. Finally, I just want to say thank you all for listening. I hope you learned something during this webinar. On this graphic, you see my book, NIL for All. It's a 30-minute guide to name, image, and likeness. If you'd like to dive deeper into the Players NIL 5 pillars, it's a paperback. It's available on Amazon. It's a 30-minute read, and it will quickly develop the understanding that you need to begin to launch your brand. Of course, you can follow us at the Players NIL on our website, at the Players NIL on social media. For those of you that would like to take a deeper dive or are interested in mentorship, we do individual mentorship. We have an online program with self-paced, self-learning, online learning modules focused on the 5 pillars. Send me an email, Mark K at the Players NIL. I want to thank you today for being part of this webinar. I think it's a great opportunity for young athletes. Super excited for the follow-up, and I hope to hear from you. Please remember, have a great day, and as always, be awesome.